everybody, how's it going? My name is Storytelling Vlaire. I'm here to give you guys a storytelling review. So as I said in my previous video, this is going to be part 2, and it's going to follow up with Wonder Woman Volume 1 Blood, written by Brian Azzarello, and the art is done by Cliff Chang. This is so much better! This isn't terrible! Anyway, I hope you guys enjoy this review, and let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so the first thing to note about this story is it's not an origin story, not like the rest of the books that I have done. It has elements of one, but it's not one. And it's kind of nice. It's a nice little change of pace. The story actually focuses on mythology. It focuses on the Greek gods and their point of view on man's world and what they want out of it. It's kind of cool. It starts up some family drama, and Diana finds herself in the middle of it. So as far as this whole thing goes, the premise, I like it. I like it a lot. I think we should see the gods' perspective a little bit more, because I think Diana is the guardian of man's world. So it would make sense for her to be defending man's world from the gods. So I think that's really cool about this story. Now, speaking of Wonder Woman defending humans, we see a lady dressed in like a peacock gown show up to a barn, and she immediately slices the heads off of these horses. And after she does that, like these grotesque, like human, like torsos pop out of these horses, or where their horses' heads were, creating centaurs. Centaurs? It's been a while since I've done anything Greek mythology. Anyway, so they attack this girl named Zola. Luckily for her, though, Hermes showed up just in time. He hands her a key, and she's immediately teleported to Diana's bedroom. Now, she wakes up Diana picks her up and is like, wait a minute, you're just a human. Okay, let me put you down. Zola describes what was going on, and then Wonder Woman's like, okay, I'm in. Stay here, hand me the key. And we're introduced to a really cool fight scene. Now, I didn't care for the art in the last story, but Cliff Chang really knows what he's doing in this one. You can just, you feel the emotions, or not the emotion, you feel for all the action scenes. They all play out really nicely. It's really graphic, it's really gory, but it's really cool. It's really cool because like this is what you kind of expect to see in Greek mythology. His art style really complements this story, which is a nice change compared to the last one where it just looked terrible. Fuck Birdly! So Diana saves Zola and Hermes, and they're wondering what's going on. Now, the plot is Zeus. He has disappeared. But before that, he met up with Zola in disguise as a trucker, and he had sex with her. Now, Zola is pregnant. And that woman that was in the bar who created the centaurs or whatever, that's his wife, Hera. And she seeks revenge to all of those women who have had sex with her husband. So she tried to kill Zola. And this is really cool because you understand why Hera's doing this. You get it because her husband is cheating on her. And ultimately she discusses this kind of to the audience, but to Strife. She says that she feels like she can't do anything to please him. So you understand why this villain is doing what they're doing. And that's great. And I think that's very important for any villain anywhere, is that you should understand their motives, and in some cases maybe even relate to them. So I think the plot sets up a really interesting story. Now let's see if they actually go through with it. So Diana, Hermes, and Zola show up to Themyscira. Hippolyta is waiting there. They're having a grand feast. They invite him to have dinner with them, and they're having a good time. Diana's talking to her mother, and Zola's talking to Hermes, learning a little bit more about the Greek mythology. We get to understand it from an outsider's point of view, which is cool. It's very important to have the kind of Morty to a Rick, you know? Speaking of Zola, she's not that interesting. Doesn't mean she's not likable. She's cool. She helps Diana. And I think she's going to have some cool character development as this series goes on. Zola she comes off as very independent. She just happens to be in danger because she's a human and there's really not much she can do unless she has a shotgun, which is really cool, by the way. So, Strife. Strife is the sister of Ares, also the daughter of Hera. And to get to know her, she's a new villain, and she pokes holes in everybody's logic. She tries to instigate people. She tries to get them to fight. That's what she wants. She wants conflict. She's a lot like her brother Ares, which is cool. I would love to see a little dynamic duo between those two. So she kind of pushes Hera a little bit forward, just like, oh, you should do something, you should do something, you should do something against these mothers that, or these women that Zeus has had sex with. She disappears. She shows up on Themyscira Island, and the Amazonians are like, oh my god, someone invaded. So they all start running out, and there's a big army that meets with them, and they're sitting there fighting and fighting and fighting, and Diana runs in there, and she's like, what's going on, what's going on? And she gets out there, and she realizes her sisters are fighting themselves. Strife had manipulated them to fight each other, because that's what she does. She instigates fights. So Diana yells at her, tells her to stop, and Strife is a huge giant, picks up Diana and is just like, I just wanted to say hi to my baby sister. And Diana's like, well, she isn't born yet. She's referring to Zola's unborn child. And Strife looks at her and says, no, I'm talking about you. Now, of course, as you know from the last origin story that I did, Secret Origins, they yelled at Diana saying she was clay. Well, that's not the truth. That was a lie fabricated by Hippolyta to protect Diana from Hera's wrath. If Hera was to find out that Zeus had a daughter, Diana, she would have killed her a long time ago. I don't know how I feel about Diana being the daughter of Zeus. I don't know what my favorite, conception story, or I don't know what my favorite one is. I don't know if it's Clay, I don't know if it's Hercules, I don't know if it's Zeus. I don't know. Kind of feels a little off, to be honest with you. I like the idea, but I feel like the way they execute it in the story just comes off as a little weird, because Diana immediately gets, she gets pissed off, understandably, because her mother had been lying to her all these years, and her sisters had been mocking her, which, that was something that I brought up in the last video. I hate. And this is the story that created that idea. It wasn't that one. The Secret Origins came a lot later to fit an origin story into this Wonder Woman world. And so it was this story that established the Amazons call Diana Clay, and they make fun of her. But aside the point, Diana's pissed, and also her Amazonian sisters are pissed too, because all this bloodshed had happened on the beach. So Alika, the friend of Diana from the last video, she starts instigating a riot. And she's saying, Diana is not the queen of us. Are you gonna let her be our queen? She brings bloodshed to our shores. She spends her days in man's world. No! And they're having this huge riot, and it's just like they're getting ready to run in there and grab Diana by her hair, pin her down, and kill her. And again, that's her sisters, her Amazonian sisters. She spent at least 1,000 years with them. But no, they hate her. They hate Diana. Really? So Diana, she gets pissed off. She walks up, sucker punches Alika, which is... Thank you. Punches her, grabs a torch, and says, I'm leaving. Drops it, walks out with Zola and Hermes. And it was pretty cool. Now, the reason why she left and the reason why all those problems were happening was because of Strife. Strife's goal is to break everybody apart from their friends. She broke Diana away from her mother. She broke Diana away from her sisters. So, and she's messing with Hera. She's messing with everybody. She's trying to weaken them up. Like another villain in the DC Rebirth. So, while Diana left Themyscira, Hera showed up. And her and Hippolyta actually have a confrontation. Hera walks up with this great battle axe, and she drops kneels before Hera and says, I'm sorry. I really like this moment because Hippolyta knows when she's wrong. She has a lot of wisdom. She certainly has a lot of wisdom, and I think that's really cool and important about Hippolyta. And Hera, in this moment, I think she feels a lot of sorrow for what she's about to do, because she doesn't want to do it. She feels bad for Hippolyta and understands why Hippolyta is doing all of this, but she has to set an example. The gang, they go have breakfast, and that's when we are introduced to another character. Very late in the game, I might add. Lennox. He served in World War II, and he is a son of Zeus, another child, kind of like Diana. And so ever since then, he's been fighting in every single major war, kind of like Captain America, or no, Logan. You don't know anything about him. They don't tell you anything about him. Aside from that, you don't know why he's helping. So they devise a plan. The audience doesn't know what the plan is, and they go off to do it. Now, we get a little heart-to-heart between Diana and Zola, and this was much, much needed. It kind of demonstrates that Diana is still peace, love, and equality. Which, actually, that's another thing I'm going to bring up right now. Diana is very angry in this story. Constantly angry. Like, if someone instigates a fight with her, she's going to immediately jump at their throat. Diana isn't about peace, love, and equality in this story. She's more about, if you don't uphold those tenets, I'm going to beat the dog shit out of you. Makes sense because she's from a race of, or she's from a island of warrior-like women. It all makes sense. It does. If anything, that's what Wonder Woman should be in theory. But me personally, I like Diana kind of like how I like Superman, where we have the means to put you down, but we're not going to. Don't make us get to that point. You know, let's talk about this. We can come to some sort of solution. I like that. To me, that's Diana. I see her as Snow White, who can beat the shit out of you if she needs to. Okay, so we get to the final fight, confrontation, and it's a letdown. It involves Poseidon and Hades, and you think a huge fight's getting ready to break out. It involves Diana and Lennox. They have to do two separate things. But the final moments, I guess, of this action scene, they don't pay off. I guess what is the end of the story is kind of a whimper, and it just leaves you wanting to read the next one. And I kind of think that's a problem. You don't get a satisfying conclusion from this story. You get tune in next time for another exciting adventures of me, Diana Prince, also known as Wonder Woman, and my sidekick, Zola. It feels like they're just ending it for the sake of ending it right now so that they can pick it up later. It loses traction. The beginning of the story was very well done. The pacing was very slow, but it was very effective. You knew everyone's motivations and you were on the same page. But as soon as Lennox is introduced, you all of a sudden don't know what's going on. And then they leave you out of the plan until they reveal it. And even the plan wasn't great. It wasn't a Luke Skywalker saving Han Solo at the end of Return of the Jedi. It wasn't a moment of, oh, that's what they were doing. Comes off as a whimper. They give you just enough to be happy, and then they want you to buy more. I can't reward that. Alright guys, so my final thoughts on Wonder Woman Vol.1 Blood is it's not a complete story. Like I said earlier, poses questions, poses a battle, you don't see the end of it, and most of the characters are cool. I don't like this portrayal of Diana. She's more of a person than she was in Gods and Mortals, so that is a step up, and kind of a step down from the Earth 1 Wonder Woman. So, anyway guys, I'm giving this story a 6 out of 10. It is slightly above average. It's not a complete story. It's entertaining, and I would like to read the second one. I don't know when, but soon. Or in a year or something, I am motivated to read the next one, but, it wasn't amazing. It wasn't Gods and Mortals where I read the final issue and I was like, what? Oh my god! It was very simple, it was safe, but, it has a cool concept. Diana versus the gods, versus mythology. It's a cool idea. It's one that should be explored a little bit more. But anyway guys, so that's my review of Wonder Woman Blood. Now, next week, I'm going to be doing another story, and I'm really excited to do this one. Wonder Woman Rebirth Year 1. This came out recently. And this one's awesome. Anyway, I hope you guys have a beautiful day, and I will see you guys very soon. Peace!